Welcome to ProjectME, the podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Carter, the founder of ProjectME, multimillionaire entrepreneur, former TV newscaster, money-making expert, female empowerment speaker, and self-proclaimed office supply addict. My mission is to take the mystery out of making big money. Every week on ProjectME, the podcast, I'll share success tips, strategies, and stories from other entrepreneurs, experts, and millionaires, showing you exactly how you can achieve your most exceptional life. Now let's get to it. You are listening to ProjectME with Tiffany Carter, the podcast. Well, get ready, guys, to have your money mindset refreshed and refined today. I have a dynamic duo, powerhouse couple who built a six-figure business starting with nothing. James and Amanda Silvas are the founders of the brand Be That 1%. So we're going to find out today what it takes to actually get in that category. How about that?
Let's do it.
Sounds great.
Well, first off, you're our second threesome. I always like saying that because it's like, I got to go for the bad joke. But you are our second threesome on the show. So we're starting to like threesomes here at ProjectME.
Yeah.
But first off, if you guys can start off, James, maybe you can lead it off. Like, what happened here? You guys went from like basically nothing to six figures. Like, tell us the story.
Man, there's so many factors, but I'll kind of start off by mentioning that I'm born and raised in Vegas. And before, if you would have asked me if this was what I would be doing in my lifetime, I would have told you no. Like, this was not in my plans. I didn't wake up my childhood saying I'm going to be a coach, I'm going to be a speaker, I'm going to be an influencer. That wasn't in the picture for me. And at the time, I was in the industry in Las Vegas. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's working in the club scene. And I was working at Wet Republic, which is like the number one day club in the world. I could tell you stories for days on what happens there that no one should ever have to witness. But something crazy happened. Around that time, I was doing a lot of personal development, and I was with my wife, and we were dating at that time, and she was very supportive of me going on this journey of self-discovery. She was the first person that introduced me to books. She challenged me to read. She challenged me to be a better version of myself. So I kind of carried that into work. One day I was getting an award for Employee of the Week. And
at Wet Republic.
At Wet Republic. And part of that process is you going home and putting in this box something that represents you. So I go home, I'm looking around, I'm like, okay, what am I going to put in this thing? I find some personal development DVDs, some CDs that you put in your car and you listen to. So I'm like, perfect. This represents me to the max. So I go the next day and I say, thank you, everybody, for voting for me. And I put these CDs in this box because eventually I kind of want to do this. I want to empower people to be the best version of themselves. I want them to live life on their terms. And the things that they talk about in this CD is what I want to be talking about daily with big audiences, with people who want to go to the next level. And, people clapped and they're like, okay, great. I go back to my section. The GM comes up to me and he says, hey, is this serious? Like, are you serious? This is what you want to do? And I'm like, yeah, I've been thinking a lot about it. And I really think that this is for me. He goes, okay, how do you feel about speaking to our staff every Friday for the rest of the season? And I thought he was joking because who motivates a staff that's serving alcohol? Like, that just doesn't happen. What is that? Where is there a need for that? Right. So I thought he was joking, and he goes, no, I'm serious. And I'm like, okay, yes, absolutely. When do I start? He said, next week. So I go home, I plan the best speech I know how. I give it the next week, and people are like, you need to do this for a living. And that was kind of the confidence that I needed to say, if I can do it in an industry where this has never happened before and people love it, then I know other industries need it. And with Amanda support always there, like I just kind of started building this thing of, how do I share more of my message? How do I inspire more people? How can I get in front of more audiences? So 2 years goes by, I work there for 2 years, and I leave. I'm like, okay, I had enough. I don't want to go through this anymore. We're making great money, but I'm not happy. I don't want to be doing this for the rest of my life. So I have to end it, and I have to jump, and I have to take a leap. And so that's what I did. And that was the scariest time of both of our lives, where, money was tight. money wasn't flowing in. I didn't have clients lined up. I had a few ideas on where I wanted to take my business, but nothing was solidified. And the next 6 months was just all grind mode. And we just put it to the floor and said, you know what, this is what we want. Let's make this thing happen. And fortunately, within a few months, we found a job that replaced that income. And that was the foundation that helped us sustain even more growth and an ability to scale. So it's kind of the origins. The mindset, be that 1%, came in that moment of, did we make the right choice? Are we really entrepreneurs? None of us have graduated with a business degree. We don't know anything about finance. We haven't talked to anyone about business, but we're just passionate individuals who want something more. How can we build this? And in moments where I was like questioning whether I was suitable for this, I came up with this phrase, and it was, be that 1%. Do what 99% of the people won't do. And in my mind, 99% of the people would have quit in that moment. They would have said, this is too hard. Let me go back to something that's predictable, a salary job, an hourly, someone that can give me direction and not stay in this uncharted territory. But if I'm going to be influencing this, if that's going to be my message of being that 1%, then I have to be that first. We have to be that first. And we only do that by exemplifying it. So that's what we did.
So, Amanda, were you working at Wet Republic too?
No, I was not. I was actually in real estate at the time. And we met in college and we were studying kinesiology. We both had that same background and I knew I didn't want to do it. So when I got out, I went into real estate full time because I was working there part time. And when he came up with this phrase, I knew he had something. I didn't know what. And it was kind of his own mantra that he put on t-shirts and wrote all over the freaking house and wherever sticky notes you can imagine, he put be that 1%. So this was back in 2013. And I went and I reserved domain name and I went and, reserved everything on social media. And this was before Instagram was really much, right? And so I just reserved it all and we didn't really even activate it for 3 years. I just sat on it because I knew it was going to be something because it resonated with me. I just didn't know what yet.
So I appreciate the honesty that you guys are sharing. I have a lot of, guests on and I've interviewed a lot of people and they kind of leave out those low points, but the low points are what inspire people and make the story. So James, from the time your GM had you speak, motivate the other servers and stuff at Wet Republic, you guys are going to die with how we're connecting. You have no idea how entrenched I am with Vegas. And in fact, I didn't even realize you guys were from there. Yeah. I've made most of my money in that town. This is beyond hysterical. Anyway, I digress, but I'm very familiar with where you worked. I'll just say that. So from that time when he had you start motivating people on Fridays, I heard you say you stayed there another 2 years. Is that right?
Yeah. So that was my first season there. And so I finished out that season speaking every Friday for the rest of the year. And then the next season, I did a second season of it. So I worked there a total of 2 years.
And so when you left, because I teach something called the straddle method for people to go from employee to entrepreneur, you didn't straddle. You quit. You went all in. You're that guy.
Yeah, that's rare. And when people ask me if that's what they should do, I always say it depends on what type of person you are, because that's not for everybody.
It's for less than 1%. Yeah. I'll tell you that. It's for 0.0002%. So during that time, help me understand, how, first I'll ask you, Amanda, during that time when obviously there was really no income coming in, you were putting actually money out. Because, for listeners, and those people who maybe aren't as familiar with the space or haven't yet started a business, you have to pay for hosting, you have to pay for a domain, and they look like little charges, all these platforms like Dropbox and Planoly and all those things. They seem little charges. They add up to hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month. And we can go further than that if you don't know how to make your own graphics, etc. So Amanda, how did you guys keep that mindset strong until you started getting money back, because you're putting money out. It wasn't just that you were like even, you were putting money out. You were like in the negative.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's where your environment and the people you surround yourself with is so huge. And we like to say, like, we're each other's healers, we're each other's coaches, and we help each other. And one of the things, maybe you want to tell the story in just a second, but one of the things that is the foundation of our relationship is growth. And this is something, James talked to me about when we first started dating, and we've always made sure that growth is the center of our relationship. We're always challenging each other. We're always helping each other become our greatest selves. And in the moments when we don't believe in ourselves, when I don't believe in me, he brings that out in me, and his belief in me helps me, and vice versa. And so there's been times where, you know what, he's been the main income provider. And then there's been times where roles have switched, and then I helped and was the main income provider. And so I think being able to like teeter-totter that and help each other in our mindset and help each other like grow to that next level has been the biggest thing. And I honestly don't know if we didn't have each other in those moments of lows to help each other get through that. I don't know who we would have leaned on prior, because it's been a while from that moment to where we're at now. That was like what, 4 years ago. I mean, we've built our team around us. We've built the people around us that we want to help support where we're at now. But back then we didn't have anything. We didn't have anyone. It was pretty much just us. So I do remember when he quit, I was like, are you sure you don't want to go back for just one more season? It's funny because his parents started saying it, and then some friends, and then I was even looking at stuff, and I was like, it would be helpful. And he was just so adamant. And the fact that he was so adamant made me feel so adamant, and that I needed to support him in it.
Yeah. And when she talks about like people that we had people in our corner, but they didn't really understand the journey that we were on, because a lot of them weren't necessarily on the entrepreneurial journey like us. So although they could offer like great support and maybe just, say the nice words that are nice to just get your mind off things for a bit, they didn't really understand us to the core of what we were going through. So it was kind of uncharted territory a little bit. And to be each other's healers, like she said, was the perfect way to say it. Days where I come home and she's like, how was it? And I'm like, nothing. Because I'm knocking on doors. I'm going in businesses that say no solicitation. And I'm like, hi, my name's James. This is a service I provide. And they're like, no, you're too young. Doesn't seem like you know enough. And like I had rejection after rejection, but I didn't have a choice. Like I had to just keep going. I had to make a living.
Wait a second. You were doing like old school door-to-door sales. What were you selling? Like your motivational, like your motivational up-leveling employees, package or whatever.
Yeah, if your employees are happier and they communicate more effectively, you make more money. I could do that.
And how many no's did it take before you got a yes? Like hundreds?
Yeah, like so many. At least over 75. At least.
Oh my Lord. That is like less than 1%. I mean, I got to tell you, like, that, I mean, my grandfather, that's old school. My grandfather sold like roofing door to door, and he would say like 20 no's to 1 yes, and you had like 75.
Oh yeah.
And you at some point were you like, what in the F am I doing?
Every single day I'm driving to different businesses. Like I'm doing my research on ones that I think will want my services. So it wasn't like sometimes it was. I would do my research on the businesses that I thought were interested. And then I'd go in and I'd learn my pitch. Like I didn't strategize. I was just kind of going in and seeing what worked. And then it was probably not the best way to do it, but that's how I did it. And so after each no, I'm like, okay, well, why did they say no? Let me switch it up a bit here. And there would be times I'm driving down the street and I see a business. I'm like, I wonder let me just go in there and ask. And so I would literally just spend so much gas driving around the city for businesses that I thought I would want to work with and they would be interested in what I had to have or what I had to sell.
And let me add something about this lovely town of Vegas, which I used to live between Vegas and LA for 13 solid years. I traveled back and forth. I was a CEO of a very, very large, well-known company in that town. And I love calling it a town because it is. To go door to door in that town is brutal. These people are no joke. It's like mafia style. Like this is like the most intimidating, blunt crowd of people I can even imagine. That so you weren't getting like these like, friendly like Southern rejections. You were getting like, get the hell out of here, I'm calling security rejections.
Exactly. Seriously. So I had to be like very charming, and I had to like know who to ask and how to ask. And I learned very quickly how to minimize the no's. I still got tons, but luckily I found one person who I was able to convince, and that led to a huge connection that started that foundation for us. And from there gave us the confidence to now have a proven track record that we could then sell and take somewhere else. So it was just an evolution. But yeah.
So that one person that gave you the foundation, I'm imagining that was like not a small client. That was a substantial sized client.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then all those no's, realistically, instead of getting like 3 small yeses, you ended up with like your first yes being a big one.
Yeah.
Is that person still a client to this day?
They are.
Wow. And so then, Amanda, tell me like what happened from there? You got that yes. I'm sure you're riding like on a high, like from the yes. How did you, because we all know you can't put all your eggs in one basket. So how'd you go from that yes to then another yes and another yes?
Yeah. Well, what was interesting is because he was getting so many no's, he's decided, well, I'm just going to create my own event, my own workshop, and I'm going to charge, and, I'm going to have people come to it. Basically like a, personal development, little seminar type of thing. And he was meeting someone for coffee and decided there's this lady sitting next to by herself. And he said, I'm just going to go give her a flyer to my event. And they started talking, and she goes, you know what? We need someone like you at our office. The coach that we have an in-house corporate coach we have right now is looking to leave, and we are in a transition period. And, James went in there, sold himself. And in the beginning, they said, you know what? You just look cute from your flyer. We just want to meet you. And there was all these ladies. So he's like, so he went in, and well, that was behind the scenes. He didn't know that till later. So he went in, gave his pitch. They actually really liked it. And then he's been there now going on almost 3 years here. And wait, 3 years? Almost 4. See, this is the problem. Time flies too fast. And you're like, wait a second. And you know what? That helped us think of like what is possible. And it helped us not be so scared. And it helped us buy our home and kind of feel that stability. And I think, and James can attest to this, when people saw us buy our first home together from our own business, it was like, oh, you're actually doing something. Oh, what you say is becoming a reality. And that is when it switched. Everything switched after that.
I can for sure relate to that. And what I like sharing with my ProjectME peeps is that, a lot of people will say, oh, I have a 6-figure business. I have a 7-figure business. And it's like, well, we don't really know what someone has unless they're showing some transparency. So you guys buying a house, like obviously you can't buy a house, Amanda, you were in real estate, and anyone who's even thought of buying a house, it's hard. It's hardcore. You have to have a legit down. You have to have credit. They check your earnings. If you own your own business, they're even more strict on you. So then it's like you having a house is like, to me, that means more to me that you guys bought a house than you like spewing off like, oh, we have $10,000 months, because that's gross. What does that mean that you have in the bank? It means nothing to me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What was special was I was the agent on this house. And that was really cool, because then I had this such emotion trying to find our house. And we really wanted to be up in a very nice community and gated. And we used to walk the trails and where we live all the time. And now to be able to live here as like our first home together, which mind you, we've lived in 6 other places, I think. So to have like our own home, that was quite the milestone. And then, even little things like later on, being able to afford an assistant or to afford a mastermind, and being able to be like, you know what, we want to take our money and invest in ourselves. That's where I've seen different growth, and people maybe doing the same things as us, or people our age, getting these very fancy cars or these lavish things. And we're kind of scaling back on some things so that we can afford to scale our business. And that was another decision that we made this past year and a half, is to really put money back into our business, because we were spending on the personal for a little bit.
Yeah. And I definitely teach that as someone who has, a 7-figure business myself, being in business for, 10 years. That is what I did.
Yeah.
And so that's very smart. It's tempting to want to do the other stuff because it's like, yeah, I'm a baller.
Right.
But this is a much more sustainable, like long-term plan. So James, tell me, how else do you guys monetize the be that 1% brand, aside from, you having like a regular reoccurring gig? What else do you do to monetize?
Yeah. So I guess the fastest way people can get to know us is through our podcast. That's like the first introduction. But then I have one-on-one coaching that I do personally with series of clients. I have sports. So I help athletes with their mindset. So it's like sports psychology, minimize the noise in their head so that they can be more present and effective with whatever their sport is. Then I have the corporate side. So that's like corporate culture. And then we have our events.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the current ways right now. Again, going full transparency here, we had started a membership at the beginning of the month, or at the beginning of the year, where we brought in influencers from all over the world, and we had a small fee where everyone can come in and just get in this knowledge that would help them level up in their life. And things were going well for a couple months, but as you know, when you bite off more than you can chew, you start sacrificing quality, and your time, it gets split so thin that you become ineffective in all of them. And that was the area that we were giving the least attention. And so my wife and I had a very serious conversation, and this is one that we hadn't had before, and I'm so glad we did, is like, we have a certain quality standard, and right now we're teetering on that. We're not below it, but if we don't stop it, if we don't fix this, it's going to go below. And so we made the decision to not go through with that, to like cancel it for a moment and to put it on pause, and to email all the people that were a part of it and find other ways to compensate them. But that was a big moment in our business career of maintaining integrity. Like, could we have kept it? Yeah. Could we have kept that monthly payment coming in because that's money in our pocket? Yes. But that's not how we do things, and that's not how we're going to do things. And so that was a really hard conversation. But yeah, to answer your question, those are the current ways right now.
So Amanda, how do you guys use digital marketing as your main source of generating like high quality leads? I can't imagine you both are still knocking on doors.
No, we're totally not knocking on doors. And it's funny because when I was in real estate, that's what I did. And so I told James, you know what, you got to go to businesses. I would knock doors around open houses and knock doors for FSBOs and stuff like that. So to us, it was just, that's what you did to get business. And I'm very I create all of our own stuff, all of our website, all of our lead pages, all of our, we use ConvertKit for our email platform. I love lead pages. I connect that to our WordPress. Those are huge. We definitely do Facebook marketing ads and things like that. So we repixel and all of that fun stuff. And then we do challenges to grow our email list. And that's been very helpful as well. Trying to convert someone as far as doing just an organic post online to convert them to go to a free download, or like we use our podcast to market our own stuff. And so when we're doing a podcast episode, it's like, okay, here's a download, or here's an event we have going on, or here's a workshop, instead of crisscrossing all these other different platforms of getting an advertising person to come in and advertise their own brand. We advertise our own stuff. And so that's been really helpful because our podcast listeners have been growing. So we use a lot from the podcast, and then we do a lot of stuff for Instagram and Facebook, and we just repixel everything. And so people come in with our free downloads, and then we kind of take them through our back end funnel. And because we're so heavily in person in Vegas, like we are so avid that when someone comes in, because it's very hard to get someone to come through the door. we are going to love on them, provide so much value that they become a raving fan. And the people that walk through our front door, they market for us. It's insane. And it's so beautiful because that's how we said every time we have someone new, we're going to love on them. We're going to turn them into a raving fan, and we're going to take so much time with them. And that has helped propel our business so fast that I can't even tell you, that has been our bread and butter, is to really just love on the people that have become part of our community, to be honest.
Are those your one-on-one clients, or are those just the general people that are following you guys?
People that are following us, and here's the thing, is they turn into be one-on-one clients later. He does one-on-one, I do group stuff. And so when they finally get to that level, they've already been on this journey. And so that's kind of, by the time they get to that level, they know us, and they just want to be in our space, and they want us to help them. And so they're avid fans before they even get to that point.
A simple example is a DM, right? There's people that DM also all the time on Instagram, and we're never the people that are going to ignore that, right? We respond to that. And I remember one time someone reaching out and just asking a question about something they were going through personally. And I wrote them back as if, they were paying me to do a coaching session. And the person responded with, wow, I didn't even think you were going to respond to my first DM, let alone give me this insight and this strategy that you've learned. Thank you so much. Something as simple as that, it's so easy to get caught up in the admin, in the scheduling, in the, I got to be this place at this time, that you forget about the people who help you get to the next level. And we're very people oriented. We love connecting. We get amplified by sharing our energy with others and them sharing it with us. So anytime we can cultivate that by creating our events, by creating our online sessions, we like to create environments where people's energy just gets amplified. And we do that through all the ways we described.
What can you say to those entrepreneurs who maybe they're transitioning into the digital world, or maybe they are starting a business, or they want to start a business, and there really isn't any business that doesn't have a digital component to it now?
Right.
And I know you're doing a lot of it, on your own, but it can be, the technology part can be really a huge deterrent to where, be that 1%, people are dropping off sooner, in the entrepreneurial process. And a lot of it has to do with being intimidated by all the moving parts in technology. Can you guys offer any wisdom on that or help on that part?
Yeah. And the online space is totally, this is where I geek out. So, and I mean, we're millennials basically, so we understand the techie stuff, but it gets faster and faster and faster, and you're always having to keep up on it. The biggest thing I would say is focus on just one. Don't try to be everywhere all at once. Get your domain name. And then I would focus on Instagram, because Instagram has everything. You've got posts, you've got IG lives, you've got you're basically YouTube on Instagram, and you've got IG stories, and you can do swipe up features. You can pay for that. You don't even have to have 10,000 followers. You can just pay for those features and connect. People want to be your own reality TV show. If you're a personal brand, or if you're not a personal brand, somehow incorporate your personality into your brand, because people want to see that your brand actually has a personality behind it, that it's a real person, that they care, that it cares about them, all these things. So the more you can put yourself in it, and the more you focus on just owning one platform, the better. That's what I would say, hands down.
That's awesome advice. As far as paid ads, right? There's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that proclaim that, all their success is organic. They use no paid ads. I have no way of verifying all these people. It's hard for me to completely buy into that, but it just could be because of my own background. But you guys, when did you guys start using paid ads? Did you guys wait till you were rolling in the dough, or did you invest early on?
Okay, so we've been doing paid ads for about 1.5 years now. and we pretty much do them for our events. We don't do any coaching. We don't market any coaching because our coaching is what someone would call a back-end funnel. And so we focus on getting people in front of us, getting people to our events. And so that's what we use our paid ads for. So we're repixeling anytime someone does a download or comes to our website or any of that fun stuff. And I learned a lot of that stuff from Rick Mulready and Amy Porterfield. They are fantastic. So that's who I was always listening to and always doing all their tutorials. And that's where I learned everything from. And so that was about a year and a half ago we started using them, but I'm talking $5 a day.
Yeah.
And then we set, and if you're going to run them for, let's say, 2 weeks, test them for 2 weeks and do a lifetime budget and say, I only want to spend $150, switch to a lifetime budget. And that's kind of where we're at. I mean, we don't go overboard on anything like that at all.
Yeah. And for those people who, because I have a mix of listeners, right? And you guys do too, on all different levels of having a business, maybe dreaming about it, all different levels. You say a term like back-end funnel, people's eyes cross. No, it's okay. I do the same thing and I catch myself and then I need to explain it. So I'm going to make you explain it in a, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's so funny because all this lingo, Chris crosses his eyes too, but he's learning as well. And so back end funnel. So if you think about it the same way as you're looking at like a funnel, like an upside down triangle, it's like, where are you guiding people when they walk in the door? It's not something that they're physically seeing, but it's where you're guiding them, whether it's through your email list and you're guiding them through different offers. And now that they've received this offer and they've said yes, you get to guide them to another offer. And you're slowly but surely either increasing the quality of service or increasing the price, which most of the time when you're taking people down a funnel, you're increasing the price so that they spend more with you. You're trying to create a recurring buyer. And so that's what a back-end funnel is once they walk through the door, where are you guiding them? Okay, great. They know who you are. They got a freebie. Now they want it. Now the next thing is maybe they're going to buy a $12 audio program from you. Then maybe they want to buy, something that's in the $50 range, then $100. Then they're finally ready to come see you in person if you offer a person thing or brick and mortar, whatever it might be. They come to get into the door and maybe that's around $100 to $200. Once they're there, then they want more of like a one-on-one experience with you, whether for us that's group coaching or one-on-one coaching. So we're taking them through this back end of our services. So what are your services and how can you increase them in price?
That was a great explanation. So this is the episode I'm going to direct people to when they go, Tiffany, you always talk about funnels. I'm just going to be like, just go listen to this episode because she said it better than I can. And I don't have it in me anymore to explain it. Yeah. You are very lucky, James, to have her because to hire someone like her is very expensive.
Trust me, I am grateful daily, and I say my prayers every night that we found each other.
So tell me a little bit about what makes I know you have an in-person event in Vegas coming up in October. Yes. Tell me a little bit, number one, about the event, and number two, what makes your events different? Because Vegas is the land of events. I mean, there's so many events.
It's the entertainment capital of the world. So being that we're from Vegas, that kind of gives us an advantage. We've seen what to do and what not to do, more so of what not to do. But our event is going to be different because the energy that we bring into it, our intention is always to serve at the highest level. And it's not about money for us. It's about creating an experience that you're never going to forget. You're going to meet people who think at a different level. We attract big thinkers. We attract game changers, and not that's who we want there. It's just the things that we talk about, the questions that we ask, the content that we put out there. Statistically, from our past events, show that those are the types of people that come. And when you get anywhere from 20 to 100 people that all think like that in the same room, you feel that energy as soon as you walk in. So our events are for the people that are wanting to break through, find out what's limiting them from getting to that next level, to re-energize. When you're an entrepreneur and you're always going after it day after day, sometimes you get caught in that routine and you need a jolt. Like you need someone to, kind of shake you and be like, look, here is where you have not been playing big. You need to reconnect to your why. You need to understand the processes that you're going through. And you need to synergize with some people who you don't know that are going to challenge you to be a better version of yourself while still maintaining a safe environment for you to feel comfortable to be vulnerable. And that's what we've always done. And that's what we're going to continue to do. And you can ask anyone that has ever come to our events by testimonials or just meeting someone on the street. They'll tell you the same thing. That's what we want to create. That's the environment that I have found has helped me the most, my wife the most, and the testimonials that come out of it or the transformations that you see when you're in the audience. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's just something that you have to see. You have to be.
We're also James is also known for these I Am Unlimited circles. So we have 3 events a year. One's James does is an all men's event. I have an all women's event. And then we do an event together. It's our main Be That 1%, and it's called Unlimited. And so everything is under the premise of unlimited. And James created this I Am circle, 3 or 4 years ago now. Mm-hmm. And it's what we do at our events. And he's become very known for it. And it's something that it's literally what you're imagining in your mind as like a full on circle at an event. And the statement, I am unlimited. And if you want to describe the behind the scenes.
I want to give it away, but basically the research behind the circle came from a couple areas. I read this article probably about 3 or 4 years ago when this originated, and I don't know the truth of it, but I love the concept of it. And it was about this African village where if you commit a crime, right? Let's say you go into a store and you steal something and someone finds out that you did. They grab you, they drag you to the middle of this village. They get everyone else around and they say, everyone, this person just stole from this whatever, right? And these people begin shouting at this person who just stole this thing, nothing but positive things. And when I read that, I was like, what? And they believe that by showering someone with positivity, it melts the negativity. It reminds you of who you really are, not one moment in your life. And when I read that, I loved that concept. And I asked myself, why do we have to wait for someone to commit a crime for us to shower people with positivity or self-belief or just empowerment in general? So I took that concept and I took it to a sports team because at the time I was just working with a sports team. And I wanted to test it. So I tested this exercise where everyone stands in a circle and they do something along the lines of saying these words. And after they do this exercise, people were talking to me about, what was that? Why is my skin vibrating? Why am I feeling like I can just do anything right now? And I didn't have an answer for a long time. And people were like, there has to be some sort of science behind this. So finally, out of my own tiredness of just having no answer, I was like, I need to go seek out what this is doing to people's minds. So I found a neurofeedback specialist. I got a small group of people to come together to do this exercise in front of him, measure before and after the exercise and what happens to the brain waves inside your brain as a result of doing this exercise. So in less than 3 minutes, your brain changes 32% as a result of doing this exercise. And it changes in a better way, in a way of you've just conditioned your mind to believe something that wasn't currently your belief. And if I can attach an empowering statement to your belief system rather than a disempowering, which is how most people think, then I can change the course of your life by changing how you think about yourself, by you changing how you think about yourself. And so this exercise has become kind of what I do as like a, grand finale kind of thing.
Wow. I'm kind of sold. I'm like, I might be down for this event. This is really interesting. I mean, like, you know who you remind me of? Like a really young Tony Robbins. Do people tell you that?
All the time.
Yeah, you really, I mean, like, I feel like I'm kind of like seeing this in the making, kind of like the next, generation of that. Seriously. And I just came from one of his events. So that's like a compliment from my heart. Truly. I wasn't expecting that today at all. So I'm really impressed and fascinated with what you guys have created and the fact that it took you, really, it took you 2 years, right? Before you really started seeing any money.
Yeah. Well, how much was it?
Depends on what making money is.
Profitable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Honestly, about a year and a half ago is when I came in full time and scaled it up to six figures and have been able to maintain at 6 figures and turned it into not just James having a talent, because let's be honest, people have a natural born ability or a natural born talent and you can get referrals, but how do you make it repeatable? How do you add structure? How do you add components to it to be a functioning business? And then that's when I turned on all the domain names, turned on all the social media and created it as not only just a phrase that he owned, his own mantra, but turned it into something that many people can resonate with. And we help people become their own 1%. Mm-hmm. And now people are like, I am my own 1%. I am that. And I want to become my own authentic self. I want to live life on my terms. And we're just like the freaking cheerleaders, I swear. Yeah. And so it's a phrase that people have owned now, and we've turned into an event and a podcast. And, I've come out from behind the scenes now and have created my own voice in it. And it's kind of cool how it's evolved so fast. And it's hard because we want things to happen fast. But when you reflect, and this is something we always do, we're always reflecting, we're always reevaluating. When you look back, you realize everything's happening for you in the way it should be. And it's actually happening faster than you even realize, because when you look back, you're like, wait, what? That was only 6 months ago. How did that happen? And so I think we want things to happen so fast, but they're already happening that way for us. So
I think that's a great message for people to hear, because there are so many people that I know that end up, whether they're DMing you or they're coming to your event or they're reaching out to me or whatever, that they are beating their head against the wall. Maybe they're in like month 8 and they're not profitable. And now they're like, oh shit, now it's a year. Now I'm still not profitable. It's a year. Now it's a year and a half. What can you guys like leave them with something to say about that? Cause we heard your story, so we know, right? We know as long as you get over that hump, you guys, and you're that 1%, the right. Pot of gold is there, so to speak. But when you're in it, man, it's brutal. Yeah.
So I'll give you a couple of things. One, Twitter, Facebook, all took a long time for them to be profitable. Tesla is not even profitable.
That's true. My fiance works for them.
Yeah. So use that as context. And they've been around for at least 5 years. Tesla has. And so that's the first thing, is like, remember that these big players that are changing the game and revolutionizing industries are also not profitable. Now, that's the first thing. Great things take time. They just do. And that's simply put. But what I go back is to an analogy that I learned from one of my favorite speakers, who was the first person that introduced me kind of to this speaking thing, is Les Brown. And some of you probably already know this. Maybe your audience already knows this, but this is something that I use constantly. And it's this concept of the bamboo tree. And this bamboo tree, okay, you haven't heard this?
No.
This is one of my favorites. Okay, so the bamboo tree, right? There's very simple rules that you need to know when you're planting a bamboo tree. One is you have to make sure the soil is fertile. The second is you have to water it every single day. If you skip a day of watering, the plant dies and you have to start all over again. 2 simple rules, okay? So you get the seed, you make sure the soil is ready, and you put it in there and you start watering. Guess what happens after 5 years?
What?
Nothing.
Oh, no.
You're watering the dirt and nothing is above ground.
You're kidding me. Not even a sprout?
No joke. And then in 6 weeks, it shoots up 90 feet. So the question is that I always ask, and that Les Brown asked me when I was young, is So the question is, like, was it growing the whole time, or was it only growing in those 6 weeks? And obviously the answer is it was growing the whole time. You just couldn't see the growth. What was happening is your foundation was being built to the point where at the right moment, at the right time, you were able to skyrocket, and it would look like overnight success, but it's not. It's constantly watering, even when you don't want to, even when other people say you're crazy when nothing's there. And the analogy that I like to use is like, picture you planting a bamboo tree in your front yard, and you out there in your robe every morning watering dirt for 5 years. How would your neighbors look at you?
Like you're crazy.
Yeah, they're like, oh my gosh, there goes Tiffany again, watering her plant, right? Babies are growing older. Like, someone got pregnant right when you got the seed, and now their child is 5 years old. There's nothing in your front yard. They're going to call the police. Like, I don't know what's wrong with this lady. But that's what success is. It's like a lot of it is invisible until it's visible.
This is so fucking good. I'm loving this. No, I've never heard that.
Yeah. So that reminds me of, like, be patient, play the long game, play the long game.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys, you're hearing a story. This is why I have entrepreneurs on from all levels. I don't just have on multimillionaires, not that we can't learn from them, but I want you guys to be able to hear real life grassroots stories from people who are being completely transparent. I mean, listen, he was like slinging drinks at Wet Republic in Vegas.
Get after people that I shouldn't be picking up, things I shouldn't have been picking up.
I mean, this is as good as it gets, you guys. I mean, and they have, you guys do have something special because you have that teamwork. Clearly, Amanda, you have a knack for the technical side and for being able to learn funnels. There's a lot of people that I try to teach all this stuff to that can't pick it up. You have a natural knack, and you clearly like it because I see you light up, which is very important. So you both have each other, whereas someone else like myself, I would have to pay for another human. You both are in it together. So you have that blessing, but you had other challenges on the way, and then you get other benefits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1,000%.
So where can people get like more of a taste of you guys? Like, maybe they're not ready to commit to like an event, but they want to hear more of what you have to say. Would it be on your podcast or?
Yeah, I mean, chances are they're already podcasters if they're listening. And I mean, I'm such an audio junkie myself. So if they type in Be That 1% to iTunes on podcast or Google Play or Stitcher, we're there. Take a listen. I would say go back and listen to episode 1 because you'll understand our backstory even more. You'll understand we're born and raised from Vegas, how the shooting really impacted us to catapult to the next level and go against like what we thought was scary and holding ourselves back, because that was a huge underlining thing of our event and everything like that from last year, and why we created the podcast movement. You can also take a peek online. We have so many free resources, BeThat1%.com. Everything is there. We're most active on Instagram. We need to get better at this on being active on our business page, but we're both very active on our personal pages, but we always are linked in Be That 1% stuff. So even if you go to Be That 1% on Instagram, our links are right there in our bio. I'm Do It Like You, and then James is James Silvas on Instagram.
Okay, I'll make sure you guys, all that is in the show notes, because I can imagine, especially after hearing this whole bamboo story, that if you don't want to hear more like really cool, inspiring shit like that, I know you're going to want to hear more of it. And they already said they answer all the DMs. But I want to end with this, you guys. What I notice is, like, when we talk about Be That 1%, okay, first off, there's almost no one who would knock on doors anymore, like, period. Then who would keep knocking on them to the tune of, like, he's on door 50 and he's still getting no's. But on top of that, what I find interesting is how few people, I mean, and it's not like I have tens of thousands of followers, but even people I know who have, 200, 300 followers, how few genuine DMs that they get asking questions. People are even afraid to, so to speak, knock on doors virtually.
Yeah.
And I mean, look what you can get in terms of, free, very high end, actually high value advice. Because people like myself, I answer all of them. You guys are right on track with that. They answer them personally. Ask a question. I mean, they're doing this for free. It's insane not to, but it's so funny how few people do in relation to your number of followers or your audience. Don't you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely. Knocking doors virtually or in person is the fastest way to get feedback.
So,
right? You instant feedback. And also it's also a very great way to improve your confidence. And it sounds like it would be like kind of an oxymoron where, well, if I'm getting constantly no's, how is that increasing my confidence? Well, you're showing up to the door. That's what you already are ahead by doing that.
Way ahead.
Yeah. So if you just keep doing that one piece, all the other skills will fall in line.
Boom. Mic drop. There you go, guys. If you are not madly inspired to go take action after listening to that, I don't want you listening anymore. I'm kidding, but not really. Thank you guys so much for coming on. It was truly a pleasure. I was not expecting this to be at this level. You guys are really next level. I'm obsessed.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having us both on. And we have this little dynamic duo between us. And I think that in order to capture all of Be That 1%, that's why we wanted to be able to do it together as a team. And hopefully it helps other people inspire that are working as a team or as a couple, because for so long people told us it's not going to work. Working with your significant other is not going to work. You're going to hate each other, you're going to dread it. But if you're in that situation right now, all I have to say is keep sticking it out and do you, because so many people want to add in their own little tidbits. But if you stay true to you and you keep growing, you're going to start blossoming into that bamboo tree pretty darn soon.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.